Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Chris Yao. No, it's not. That is not Chris Yao.
You almost had it.
I almost had it. That's Wade Neely.
What's up, gang?
Yeah. A man who needs no introduction, Wade Neely, joining us here again on Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade and I will be giving you at the end of the show our picks for best sports commercials. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Between now and then, we're going to be speaking at the top of the second hour with Terry McCormick from Indianapolis. He's up at the NFL Combine, and he's going to be giving us his daily Titans report powered by Zen Sports. We will also have Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, talking MTSU athletics in the second hour. Later in this hour, in fact, in the next segment, we will have Maria Cornelius of 24/7 Sports joining us to talk about the Lady Vols. They are in the final week of the regular season before the SEC women's basketball tournament next week over in Greenville, and there's some things we need to discuss. So we're going to get with her on that. Also, Wade, interesting development in the world of NIL today, as a certain SEC quarterback signed with an endeavor that hadn't really thought a whole lot about, but this is I'm intrigued by it, so we're going to get into that a little bit as well. And Associated Press top 25 polls for both men's and women's basketball dropped yesterday, as they do every Monday. We're going to kind of take a look at that as well. So good show, as we try to have every day from 2 to 4 here. So Wade, what are your thoughts? What you got going on?
Thoughts are, it feels like we've been saying this for about 3 weeks now, but I guess technically we have. It's basketball, but kind of like you and I talked about last week, Mo, when the region tournament starts, that's when it kind of starts to feel like things are really starting to click into high gear. And last night we had the semifinals across the state for all of our public high schools, and in the blink of an eye, in one night, now that field is cut in half. We've got our region championships coming up Wednesday, and then the sectionals, on Saturday. But we get to do it all over again tonight with the boys team. So it's a busy week of hoops. But I mean, really, could you ask for anything more? I mean, this is kind of what you build toward all year, and this is kind of the fun time, really.
This is the fun time, unless, again, you are on the wrong end of some of these region semifinal outcomes, because that'll end your season. Region finalists, as you said, are assured of sectional berths Saturday for the girls, Monday for the boys, as they continue to make their way toward the Glass House Murphy Center over at MTSU. The girls' state tournament is right up on us next week. Boys is the following week. So before you know it, we'll be done with the bouncing ball, or inside. There'll be some bouncing balls elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. As those sports get ready to get cranked up as well. And you are exactly right. It feels like basketball is just this giant slog, but then when you flip the calendar into February, man, does it fly by in a hurry. It seems like you blink and where did our teams go? And luckily, we're fortunate enough to still have a few area squads still in, because in the blink of an eye, a lot of your competition and a lot of your teams you played all year, they're suddenly watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, it dwindles pretty quick once you get to this point. So, hey, long as we're here, let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
All right, folks, rundown. Let's begin with results from last night. We've talked about it a lot, but girls basketball, pretty much all these were region semifinal games. And we begin in Murfreesboro, where it was Blackman winning 43-38 over Lebanon. Summertown defeated a really good Cannon County bunch last night, 57-47. Cheatham County knocked off Stewart's County 57-46. Clarksville takes care of Dixon County 72-24. It was Oakland winning by 6 versus Cookeville 66-60. Your final there. East Nashville all over Stratford 66-27. Clay County wins by 4 in a 60-56 victory versus East Robertson. It was Hendersonville knocking off Green Hill 49-24. Rossview defeated Henry County 49-45. Beach, a winner over Hillsboro 56-44. Jackson Southside took care of Creekwood last night, 49-29. A game that I was at, Upperman, really good Upperman team, folks. They knock off Lawrence County in convincing fashion, 53-26, your final there. Speaking of convincing wins, Loretto put up 75 in a 75-46 win versus Cascade last night. It was Macon County squeaking out a 1-point win, 37-36 over Portland. McEwen 59, Houston County 57. It was Lincoln County 47, Nolensville 44. Pearl Cone wins 49-32 versus Whites Creek. Eagleville, and a game that Mo can tell us about a little bit later, knocked off Richland. Tough loss for the Lady Raiders, but a good win for the Lady Eagles. 47-32 was your final there. Chester County takes care of Sycamore 39-22. Station Camp 41, White House 35, and then Smith County put up 47 to just 21 for Westmoreland last night. Those are girls basketball scores. And again, most of those, if not all those, were region semifinal games. One game on the docket last night, of our concern, at least in the NBA, it was the Nets knocking off the Grizzlies. Tough loss for the Grizz last night. Mo, your score there was 111-86.
Ouch. 25-point loss for the Grizzlies at the FedEx Forum. That's a tough one. A lot of low-scoring girls basketball region semifinal games last night. Let's hope that maybe the boys are able to open up the throttle a little bit here tonight. 6 o'clock starts for Brentwood and Columbia Central in the Region 5 4A tournament up at Centennial right out my back door here. We'll have coverage of that later tonight at mainstreetmurray.com. Also at 6 o'clock, Siegel and Cookville, Jackson Southside and Creekwood, Richland and Eagleville at Richland. That's a 6 o'clock tip in that Region 5-1A semifinal down there. Green Hill and Hillsboro at 6 o'clock. Down in Loretto, it's the host Mustangs and Cannon County at 6. Clarksville and Rossview are at 6. Portland and Station Camp, Lead Academy, and Whites Creek. Again, those are all 6 o'clock tips. At 7:45, Hendersonville takes on Beach. It's Laverne and Blackman. Fairview plays Chester County. Martin Luther King and Hume Fogg. Franklin and Independence will play at 7:45. That's the second half of that Region 5-4A semifinal doubleheader over at Centennial. Also, Gordonsville and Joe Burns, East Nashville and Pearl Cone. Fayetteville and Santa Fe play at Richland at 7:45. Dixon County and Springfield. Down at Loretto, it's Mount Pleasant and Summertown at 7:45. Also at Tullahoma, it's the host Wildcats. It's the City Cats and the County Cats, as we like to say. Lawrence County taking on Tullahoma at 7:45. Houston County and Wayne County, and Liberty Creek and White House Heritage. Again, those are all 7:45 tips. Men's basketball action tonight, 8 o'clock. You can see it on the SEC network as Vanderbilt goes to Bud Walton Arena to take on the Razorbacks of Arkansas. Should be an interesting game because you're talking about two teams that have struggled a lot this year. And before we get back with you tomorrow at 2 o'clock, at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's breakfast with the Firehawks as UT Southern and Bruton Parker of Georgia will play in the opening round of the Southern States Athletic Conference tournament down in Montgomery. Now, this is a women's game. Again, 9 a.m. in Montgomery, UT Southern and Bruton Parker. On the ice tonight, we talked about it a little last night. Ottawa comes to Bridgestone Arena and will be taking on the Predators. That's a 7 o'clock puck drop. You can see it on Bally Sports South, and that is your rundown. Top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and get through there for their delicious daily deli lunch offerings, as well as hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10 at the register. So again, Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill in Columbia, bringing you our top story. And a little more movement in the high school coaching ranks in Metro Nashville as Arcente Broome sliding across I-24, well, across Old Hickory Boulevard, basically, from Overton to Antioch. That Antioch spot opened up a few weeks ago when Devin Arnold stepped down after a couple of seasons to join Jamie Graham's staff at Lipscomb. Going back to Lipscomb is Devin Arnold. So Arcente Broome taking over the Bears program. This will be his fourth Metro Nashville coaching assignment, was previously at McGavock and Maplewood before taking over the Overton program 3 years ago. So Arsente Broome on the move yet again. And I think this is a pretty intriguing situation, Wade, because Antioch kind of surged a little bit last year. Got into the playoffs first time since 2016. They've got a nice underclassman quarterback coming back in Andre Adams, who threw for almost 2,700 yards and 30 touchdowns, and they've got a rising senior lineman who has a handful of Division I/Power 5 college scholarship offers, including Liberty, Purdue, and Vanderbilt, according to the article we have online at mainstreetpreps.com. So Antioch on the rise, and they've got a veteran coach to kind of take them to that next level, hopefully.
Yeah, and Mo, is this not a really good fit? You got a guy that's familiar with the program, familiar with Metro, and has had a track record, considering how late in the game that we're talking about a hire here. This seems, for a program that had just kind of restored a little bit of pride and a little bit of expectations there, coming off that playoff berth for the first time in nearly 10 years. Seems like this is a pretty good fit, considering all of that.
I think it's a great get for Antioch. I mean, I think Arsente has been successful everywhere he's been, pretty much. He went to a couple of state semifinals while he was at Maplewood. He's a great player at Stratford, and he's done nothing but good things, both as a player and as a coach in Metro, and looking forward to seeing what he does at Antioch. But as you said, Overton now late in the game looking for a coach. So it'll be interesting to see where the Bobcats go. And they had gone back-to-back 6-5 under Broome. But their 22 season was a little senior heavy, and they had 3 guys go on and sign college scholarships. So kind of dropped off a little bit this past year, finished up at 2-8. But again, it'll be intriguing to see what Overton is able to do. They're kind of the last man standing here in terms of getting a coach in now. So always those coaching dominoes and watching them fall is always kind of fascinating to see. So we will see what they do. But Antioch got their man in Arsente Broome. So there we go. Wade, what else you got on your mind right now? Where did you go, man?
The internet dropped. I'm out here. Was at Tullahoma last night. We're going to be at Tullahoma tonight, so we're back at Tim's Ford. And I don't know if the power boat out back maybe is running the internet here, and maybe they just stopped pedaling downstairs. But we're back, and so I'm just going to cross my fingers because it's a good news, bad news. It's great because you're out here and it's very peaceful. It's relaxing. It's certainly saving me a lot of drive time and some miles on the car, but not great cell phone reception. But I've been knocking on wood. The internet has been phenomenal out here, except for obviously just the drop right at the end of the rundown there, which I apologize to the listeners for.
It's very relaxing when everything works, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we did this show out here a couple weeks ago when we had Benny Jennings, and I was kind of holding my breath that whole show, and I haven't really stopped holding my breath since I've been here. But yes, back over here tonight at Tullahoma, and we kind of touched on it in the rundown. You and I mentioned Upperman and kind of how things had played out with their district tournament, losing in the semifinals, and then maybe losing suspiciously, as it were, in the consolation game. And
as you put it that way, yeah.
Talked to a couple folks on the ground last night, and in short order, they said, hey, we've heard everything, and I just want to let you guys, or let you, when they're speaking to me, know that we played the absolute 2 worst games we've played probably in the last 3 or 4 seasons. They just happen to be back-to-back. Doesn't necessarily remove the suspicion from my mind, but I kind of at least see where they're going. But last night, Mo, they really turned it on. And kind of like you and I had mentioned a week ago, when you lose 2 games like that, whether you potentially lose that second one on purpose or not, you wonder how can you kind of rally the troops. And Upperman has rallied them in a big way. They knocked off Tullahoma on Saturday, and last night they throttled Lawrence County. They were up 28-5 at halftime, and Lawrence County scored 5 points in the first quarter. They were held scoreless in the second frame.
Well, you texted us when Lawrence County got to double digits, and that made it 45-11, I think.
45-11. They got to double digits with about 4 minutes left in the third quarter. I will say this, though. Lawrence County could not buy a bucket, which is unfortunate because they played in Tullahoma's gym, several times this season and have had much better showings, of course. They missed every single shot early, and once Upperman kind of got on them, I'm going to stay away from the swarm puns, but the Bees really kind of got after them last night on both ends of the court.
Got a big one tonight. Again, we mentioned City Cats, County Cats over at Tullahoma. And this Lawrence County team has quietly been going about its business all year, man. They've got a bunch of guys that can score and really makes it tough for them to prepare for. And I guess this will be at least their third meeting with Tullahoma since they're coming out of the same district. Did they play in the district tournament, Wade?
They did. And, Tullahoma had Lawrence County on the ropes, and Lawrence County had to rally from 11 points down in the fourth quarter to get that win in the district championship game. And it was, in the district semifinal game. And it was very impressive there for Lawrence County to do that. But in that game, Tullahoma is a team, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. They don't necessarily strike fear in your heart when you look at them. But when you get out on the court, it's not inconceivable that you look up and, like Lawrence County, you're suddenly down 11 or 12 points and saying, how did this happen? And if they don't bring their A game tonight, it's all well and good when it's in the regular season and the district tournament. But Mo, as you well know, tonight's an elimination game this evening.
Yep. Win or go home. So we will see how that goes. Absolutely. Meanwhile, I'm going to go and check out Columbia Central and Brentwood in the Region 5 4A semifinals. Columbia Central been on quite the roll here of late. Defeated Ravenwood over the weekend in double overtime to get here, and I'm trying to remember how long the winning streak is that they are on right now. It's about 9 or 10 games for the Lions under first-year coach Brandon Levier. So they've been really doing some good things, and looking forward to seeing them on a neutral court tonight against this Brentwood High School team that features Daniel Cochran, big kid in the middle, who has signed with the University of Chicago. So should be an interesting one. And in the nightcap, it's Independence and Franklin. Never a dull moment when those two get together. I think they split during the regular season, and I think Independence got them in the semifinals of that district tournament. So, again, when these Williamson County teams get together, it's always interesting, and Columbia Central trying to kind of wedge their way in there and say, not so fast, don't forget about us. So should be a fun night over at Centennial, and it'll certainly be a short trip. So looking forward to that as we are coming to you from the Lee Company studios of my abode, and Wade kind of crashing on somebody's couch, I guess. But
that's not a bad way to put it. And so, hey, real quick, you mentioned Columbia. I wanted to ask you, what in your mind, having kind of been around them as much as you have this year, what has changed? Because you're right, they are absolutely flying right now.
I just think it's a belief for some reason. I mean, they really struggled last year, finished 7-21, lost in the district play-in, and I think they had some success early, began to realize that they could play a little bit, and it's just kind of rolled from there. It's amazing what happens when you've got some confidence. And they went down to Coffee County last week and picked up a big win. They got up big and then had to hang on late, and just playing with a lot of confidence at this moment. So they are now on a 9-game win streak with the win. 8 games with the win over Ravenwood over the weekend. So they've won 8 of their last 9. 8 straight. There we go. And 12 of their last 13. That's what they've done. Yeah. The math wasn't mathing, man. But yeah. So again.
Hey, so riddle me this. So you're telling me, did I hear correctly? We got a first-year head coach.
Mm-hmm.
We got a team that struggled maybe a little bit with confidence issues in seasons prior, but now all of a sudden has kind of sort of rolling here down the stretch.
It's brimming, man. I mean, I think they are kind of in a thought process, kind of in a mindset of how are we going to win this game? Not are we going to win this game, but we know we are. It's just a matter of what it is that we're going to have to do. I mean, they knocked down free throws late down at Coffee County, and clearly it was more of the same Saturday night when they took on Ravenwood. So they're doing the stuff late that it takes to win ball games, and I think it's kind of been a work in progress for them all season to get to this point. And I think one of the things is they've got a guy on the sideline who has been there and done that with their first year coach, Brandon Levier. So again, it's amazing what confidence will do for you, man. So looking forward to seeing these two games.
Where I was going with that is it sounds a little kind of like the team that I cover on a regular basis last year, Giles County, with first-year head coach Nick. Obviously, it's ironic that it's Columbia that we're talking about where he came from, but kind of starting to repeat some of the same pattern. A team that's got some energy from a first-year head coach and just riding that energy deep into the postseason. Obviously, tonight will be a big, big test.
Obviously.
But if you can win this game tonight, now you're clinching, a berth in the sectional, and then we obviously saw GCHS make a run to the Final Four last year.
Absolutely. You win this ball game, you are one win away from Murfreesboro, and that's where every high school team in the state is trying to get to in Division I. So we will see what Columbia Central can get done tonight over here against Brentwood. We will see what Lawrence County can get done tonight against host Tullahoma. And when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will be joined by Maria Cornelius of 24/7 Sports. We're going to talk a little UT women's basketball and where they stand a week ahead of the SEC women's basketball tournament. So stay tuned with us here from the Lee Company Studios. We'll be right back. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. The city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, not Chris Yao. See, I'm getting better. Getting better.
Dangerous.
Of course, it helps when I can see who's over there. So, but yeah, coming to you from the Lee Company Studios here as we get ready to talk a little Lady Vols basketball with Maria Cornelius of 24/7 Sports. Maria, and you've got company.
Yes, I had them all quiet and put down, and then they heard your voices and they wanted to join the show.
Well, cats are always welcome on this show. Yeah, Maria Cornelius of 24/7 Sports joining us here. Maria, we're a week out from the SEC women's basketball tournament. Tennessee with 2 games left in the regular season at 16-10. I don't really know any way around it at this point. What is Kelly's status right now?
I mean, right now, nothing has changed. The good approach and any approach by any school is to let the season play out. See where you end up, see what you do. There's been a lot of chatter. There's always a lot of chatter. I get that. I think one thing people have been asking me about, concerned about, is they think Tennessee won't make the tournament. I mean, if the tournament started today, we're talking the NCAA tournament, they would, of course, would make it. Their net is 37. Their strength of schedule is number 2. They, as Kelly said after the LSU game, we do pass the eye test. We do, compete with these teams. Do Tennessee fans want a better record? Absolutely. I mean, you're going into the SEC tournament with an outside shot to be a 4 seed, or you could be the 5 seed and play on Thursday. It looks like either way, if you win that Thursday game, you're going to run into Alabama, whether you're the 4 seed or the 5 seed. So that, just looking at the brackets right now. Now, I mean, that's presuming that Tennessee can get one win between Texas A&M and South Carolina. I think everybody knows playing at South Carolina on Senior Day is an unlikely win for any team. Nobody has picked off South Carolina this year. And Tennessee actually came the closest to doing so, besides LSU. Those two, they're the ones that pushed South Carolina.
Still, this is a program that isn't used to wondering whether or not they're going to bid into the NCAAs. Clearly, they are used to playing for national championships. Now, I know it's been a while since that's been the case. With Sunday's loss to LSU, they assured themselves of their 6th double-digit loss season in the last 10 years. Program isn't where they're used to being. Does getting into the NCAAs, does winning a game or 2 in the NCAAs, is that enough? And I mean, I don't want you to speculate necessarily, but I mean, is there concern right now?
It depends on who you talk to. There's some fans that have been concerned since December, and I just kept trying to tell them, let this play out. I don't think there's any doubt there's in the NCAA tournament. Now, if let's say they lost the next 3 games, which I don't see happening, I mean, they would be a bubble team for absolute certain. But there has never been a doubt in my mind that they were going to be in the NCAA tournament. That is just for clicks and conversation, and I get it. Right now, they're sitting probably on that 8-9 line, which is where you don't want to be, because if you get past that first round game, you're on the home number 1 seed home floor. So what you'd want to do is a strong, at least get one of these 2 games coming up, win at home, compete with South Carolina, and try to get through to Saturday, at least in the SEC tournament. And coming in as the 4 or 5 seed, you're once again lined up to play South Carolina. So even Dawn Staley said putting Tennessee and South Carolina in position to play each other 3 times in 2.5 weeks is a SEC scheduling fail by the conference. So she wasn't happy with how it lined up. Because that's the other thing to point out. Nobody wants to say, is going to say, good, we've got Tennessee in our bracket. That's just not going to happen. Tennessee is a threat to beat you at any time. So it's the only way I've been able to survive doing this as long as I have, and Maurice, you've been in this a long, long time too, is let the season play out. I mean, the what ifs could tie you into a pretzel.
No doubt.
Yeah, and Maria, you kind of touched on a question that I was going to get into, and I guess we will let things play out and see where we go from there. And if Tennessee is playing at its best, what is kind of the ceiling of this current makeup of this Lady Vols squad in your mind?
The injuries have hurt. Losing Destiny Wells, I'm not sure people realize how much that would hurt point guard play, because Jasmine Powell has had to pretty much shoulder that by herself. Losing Rakia for 2 months of the season put them behind in terms of wins. I mean, Kelly could shift her philosophy and schedule a lot easier, but she seems to have adopted the Pat philosophy, despite the fact that the parity in the sport is at a whole other level. When Pat was coaching, maybe 2 teams in the SEC each season could challenge you, maybe. Now it's up and down the conference. So it's a different climate right now. If they're playing at their best, I mean, they can get to the Sweet 16, and once you get there, I mean, just about anything can happen. But I'll be able to answer that a lot better when I see the brackets. This is a Tennessee team that is very dependent on matchup, like a lot of teams have been. And there are some teams they do not match up well with at all, because they went into the season with a shorter roster than usual, and then they've taken some injury hits. And Tamari Key, I mean, bless her for coming back from blood clot. She had every right to step away from the game after what happened to her. And she can't go the 30 minutes that she used to go. She is not the Tamari Key she was in her junior year or her sophomore year, but she's giving everything she's got right now. And I hope she can stay healthy and stay in that 20 to 25 minute range, because Tennessee is a different team defensively when she's on the floor.
Yeah, and you kind of we've talked a little bit about the ceiling. You kind of mentioned some matchup nightmares. What in particular, or what, not necessarily specific teams, but what are some potential matchup problems that would give Tennessee a lot of fits going into the postseason?
If you've got a team with a tremendous amount of depth, like South Carolina can roll in a second 5 that is just almost as good as their starting 5, that they have just worn teams down. You just get into the fourth quarter and they keep bringing fresh legs in. Tennessee is not deep at all. About 6 players are playing the bulk of the minutes, and then you've got some relief help against your top teams. If there are really, really quick athletic guards all over the perimeter, that can put Tennessee in some mismatches because of who's on the floor. And it has helped that Kaya Wynn's been able to come in and play more wing. Of course, that puts a lot of burden on Jasmine Powell, because Tennessee's more effective on offense, in particular when they're moving a lot and giving Rakia Jackson room to work. So, and then, I mean, this is an obvious thing, but your shooting guards, they've got to score. They absolutely have got to score. In the games where Tennessee has struggled against LSU and South Carolina, they have not shot well from the perimeter. And you've got to do that to open up some kind of space inside.
And it's interesting that you talk about depth, Maria, because we've talked about that with this team, not necessarily depth specifically, but getting to the fourth quarter, they played with LSU into the fourth quarter. They played with South Carolina into the fourth quarter, and then kind of faded late in both of those. And I would imagine that is a fatigue fatigue thing that goes back to depth or lack thereof.
This is a tough conference. Y'all know that. The SEC men's and women's, it's just brutal night in and night out. And it does affect teams. I mean, when you get to that fourth quarter, because you haven't had much rest and you're being asked to do a lot, especially, I mean, Jasmine Powell, she has been asked to carry a much bigger load than you would have anticipated going into this season. You know, Destiny Wells, unfortunately, the season-ending injury to her knee in December. I remember thinking then this is not good for Tennessee. They didn't have much margin for error as it was, and that just sliced it even thinner.
As a result, do you see folks trying to do too much maybe on this team? Because the one thing that has just jumped out at me watching them over the last couple of years is turnovers. And turnovers are never good, but especially it just seems like they have them in the middle of when they're trying to make a surge, make a run, and then they'll kick one or throw one away or throw one into double coverage or something like that. Just turnovers.
That was a problem early. They have actually in February gotten that under control. They only had 10 against LSU. If you'd have told me going in, you have 10 turnovers against LSU and you keep Angel Reese to 11 points, I thought they would have had a pretty good shot, but they could not hit their outside shots. They just could not make shots. And part of that, LSU is one of the better defensive teams. They speed you up, but they also had some nice open looks and just couldn't knock them down. But I think there goes the cat again. I think you are correct in saying that there were times this season where, yes, it was like, I don't know how many times I watched and go, what exactly are you doing with the ball there? And Kelly has gotten a lot of those execution issues fixed, particularly with the turnovers. But competitors do they sometimes try to do too much? Absolutely. And I asked Kelly after the LSU game, is there a fine line between wanting to make a play for your team and needing to make a better decision? And she said, absolutely. But as a coach, you got to balance. You don't want them tentative and afraid and overthinking. So two of the best guards in the country are sitting on the bench. I mean, Talasia Cooper, I hate these portal rules where she's outside the portal window and has to sit for an entire year while other kids transferred for a second time, and the NCAA in December says, oh yeah, you can play. Okay. I mean, she is one of the most elite guards in the country, and she almost came to Tennessee out of high school, went to the home state school, which is understandable, and then realized, you know what, maybe I should have gone to Tennessee. So she'll be ready to take the floor next season. But every time I see her in practice or look around, I'm like, oh my goodness, they'd be a different team if you were available right now.
Maria, I'm curious, outside of South Carolina and LSU, we'll discuss Tennessee. Obviously, anybody that really could maybe make a run in your mind in the SEC tournament to potentially win this thing is kind of a shock?
I mean, Ole Miss is playing very well right now. Ole Miss nipped Tennessee in Oxford. If I had to give somebody a long shot, it would be Ole Miss. Also, knowing how well Tennessee can play at times, I don't discount Tennessee, but lining up against South Carolina, that's just a tough road. I mean, you have to hand it to South Carolina. They have not lost. What have they lost? 2 games in 2 years, something like that. They haven't lost this season. That consecutive win streak in the SEC, a Pat Summitt record, you wouldn't think would ever be broken. Dawn just broke it. And a much deeper SEC too. I mean, like I said, in some cases, I mean, there have been really good SEC teams. I mean, Auburn been a Final Four team, Alabama, even Ole Miss got there, but there has not been year in and year out more than 2 teams that could have challenged Tennessee, and that's completely different. And Texas and Oklahoma are now on the way. Yeah, it's a brutal conference.
It's funny when Texas and Oklahoma first announced that they were coming to the SEC. all the talk was about football. And then when you think, wait a minute, women's basketball, softball, baseball, this isn't just a football thing. This is going to be paradigm shifting across all sports. And certainly both Texas and Oklahoma have women's basketball traditions that it's going to be intriguing to see when they get here what that shift means across this conference.
Volleyball, track and field. I mean, volleyball, the Texas defending national champs, and Tennessee was the only team that took them to 5 sets in the NCAA tournament this last December. No, I agree that everybody, like you said, football. I'm like, wait a minute, you got to look at these other sports. This has a seismic change in the conference. I am glad that Texas and Tennessee will start playing each other again. That series got interrupted on Texas's end, and I'm like, well, now Texas is coming. You're in the SEC. You got to play once a year. So let's go. Certainly. That series had gone on since 1987 when it got interrupted.
Oh, wow.
And Stanford didn't re-up with Tennessee. That could have been, partly a move of their shift, but that was another long-time series that didn't get re-up this year. Not on Tennessee's end in either case. They would have Kelly, she'll schedule anybody. She would have gladly scheduled both. She may need to rethink that. I mean, you'd love to go in, you love to go into December or January, at 12-2. But, instead she just keep lining them up.
Maria, as again, the SEC women's basketball tournament is next week. Who's got the best chance of beating South Carolina?
I mean, LSU played them within 4 points. They were at home. I mean, they've got a shot. Ole Miss, they came close last season. They haven't. That's the last one that I believe that's the last one that Coach O is trying to pick off in the SEC. I mean, those two. I mean, Tennessee could possibly meet them if they got to Saturday. They'd have to win Thursday, win Friday, and then you're playing your third game in 3 days. And that's another thing. I mean, Tennessee isn't built for consecutive days in the SEC. So that's not an ideal situation to be in either. But I mean, LSU would be an interesting matchup. So would Ole Miss, and Tennessee's got to hope it gets a shot, because that means they would have won Thursday and Friday.
They really need to get to that 4 spot, though, don't they?
It's helpful, but they need some help, and they're not in control of their own. Like I said, it looks like it's going to be Alabama in that 4 spot if things play out. If Alabama were to win their next 2 games, and Tennessee got an incredibly brutal end to the SEC conference. I mean, Kelly was political about it, said, oh, every game's tough, but they got 3 physical big teams in LSU, Texas A&M, and South Carolina to close out. So you don't go into the SEC tournament the least bit rested. You go in with just a gauntlet of the last 3 teams you played.
Maria Cornelius of 24/7 Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Maria, appreciate your insight. Look forward to swinging back to you here as we head into postseason play, and have fun with the Lady Vols.
Yeah, once the bracket comes out, if you want to have me back, just let me know, because that's when you can really start breaking it down a lot more. Who does Tennessee match up with? So, but it's I always just tell people, let it play out, and then we'll deal with the drama afterwards. So let's see how it goes.
There we go. Hey, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks. When we come back here on Main Street Sports today in the Lee Company studio, Jackson Dart down at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I don't know if frequent flyer miles will apply in this situation or not, but we will check it out when we come back after this break. Stay with us.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back into the Top 5 Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today here on Main Street Sports, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Wade Neely, Maurice Patton, and Wade, like I said, we got word earlier today, Jackson Dart of Ole Miss has signed an NIL deal with Nicholas Ayer, the first private jet partnership for a player in college football history. He's going to receive an undisclosed number of flights for travel, training, and philanthropy. That's
the natural trio, right?
Yeah.
You got to include a little philanthropy in there, or else it would be a total sham of a deal. But
you got to have the philanthropy. Yeah. So sort of like all those guys signing contracts with the Braves and donating 5% to the Atlanta Braves Foundation. Yeah. I don't know why this hadn't been done before. And it just kind of makes sense. It's kind of a natural progression, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think so. And with all due respect to Jackson Dart, yeah, you're right. I'm kind of surprised that we have not seen a quote unquote more high profile player potentially land a deal like this. I mean, I don't know necessarily how this whole partnership kind of came to fruition, but it is interesting that that Dart kind of becomes the first. And you're right, that's a natural space to kind of get into. And for a sport that is so long had a fan base that has tracked coaching flights on FlightAware and FlightRadar.com, it's interesting now that I suppose if we really wanted to, we could find out exactly where Jackson is traveling to,
where he's
do
going
his philanthropy.
with his free flights. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said. These guys work in such a expanded space. I mean, they're going here and there for training, for appearances, different things like that. So, and I can't imagine that the flights are just for him necessarily, right?
Yeah, I would imagine not. Presumably, in the language there, it carves out some space for friends and family, or at least I would certainly hope so. And I do find it interesting also that the college sports landscape, not even 10 years ago, this type of accepting a free flight would have gotten your program basically landed in hot water with the SEC.
If you recall, I think that there is a flight involved with a certain Tennessee quarterback that's currently kind of up in the air as well. So
I see what you did there. And it is very interesting that, this is something that would have gotten your team absolutely raked over the coals. And now it's we're sitting here, in late February in 24, and we're saying, man, this is a pretty sweet little NIL deal. And it just kind of shows the ever evolving landscape of college football, college athletics, and the world of NIL. And kind of to bring it back full circle, this is a kind of a natural fit, right? Because, I mean, ain't necessarily an easy way to get to Oxford, Mississippi, unless you got a private jet. So it certainly makes things a lot easier in that regard.
Yeah, and you got to feel like he's not going to be the last guy either, right? I mean,
no, I would.
This is kind of the tip of the iceberg, kind of opening the Pandora's box as far as this goes. This is something that now everybody else asks for, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing when you think about it like this too, is if you're a brand manager or an agent, I guess, as it were, in an extent for a college athlete, you're probably scratching your head saying, why didn't we think of that? Or now what you're thinking is, okay, what can we potentially go after? There's really kind of no industry at this point that's left to be unturned, whether it's, marketing sweet tea like we saw down in Alabama, potato chips, some of those early NIL deals for the guys down there. But now we're into the realm of private jets. I mean, if I'm a brand manager, that's a full-time job, is trying to think of what industry I could potentially get into to get my guys some more exposure.
And you kind of feel a little bit like you got caught sleeping, right?
Yeah, that's the way I'm thinking of it. If I'm a SEC quarterback or a big-time college football superstar, I'm saying, dang, where's my jet deal?
Right.
Why didn't you think of that jet deal for me, to, like I said, family member or agent or however you want to phrase that term there? Like
you're fired.
Right? Yeah, you mean this guy got a jet deal and I'm stuck?
Yeah.
This is me as another college football player. You mean this guy got a jet deal and I'm over here having to do rinky-dink commercials for small used car lots?
Carson Beck is getting a Lambo, and this guy's getting a jet. What? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, that we kind of had tongue in cheek made fun of. Was Beck Lambo worthy a couple weeks ago? And Dart says, you know what? I'm not even worried about a Lambo. I'm just looking for private jets. So that's the biggest flex I think so far we've seen in college in terms of NIL.
As flexes go, this is a pretty good one for sure. Kirby Smart flexed. loses Dale McGee, his running backs coach, to Georgia State, where he will now be the head coach. It goes and picks off Georgia Tech assistant Josh Crawford to replace him. So, lost a guy who was a really impactful recruiter in the state of Georgia, and went and got another one. Crawford coached wide receivers for Georgia Tech last year. He's a former running back at Morehouse, got his degree at Georgia. One of two new assistants at Georgia, along with James Coley, who's coming back to Athens after earlier in this offseason taking a job at South Carolina, like last month. So, I don't know how anybody at this point can be upset with kids in the transfer portal when coaches are moving around like this. Again, James Coley took a job at South Carolina on January 12th. It's February 27th, and he has just taken a job at Georgia.
Yep. Like you said, you can't fault the kids when you're seeing this. It's kind of like we touched on last week too. When you commit now, you better be committing to the school. If you're looking to stay long term, because coaches are moving willy nilly, just as they really kind of have been, maybe not to this extent, but now it's just even more or just as rampant.
Got to be apartments, not houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just amazing. Oh, and one move that almost eluded us. I don't know if you remember, Wade, but Chris and I were talking about the Tennessee State offensive coordinator from South Dakota State that Eddie George was able to bring in, and I'm losing his name, but he has taken a spot at Iowa State, apparently. Hang on just a second. Tyler Roll, again, arrived at TSU about a month ago, maybe a little more, but he is now moving back closer to North Dakota State, joining the staff at Iowa State. So,
yeah, and it's continuing to just kind of move at a breakneck pace. I'm seeing that report too here on the ESPN wire, and I mean, it's really almost, honestly, you have to be 100% engrossed in the sport to keep up with things as fast as they're flying across the radar these days.
That's a really tough deal for Tennessee State, because again, this guy was thought to be probably the top offensive coordinator in FCS, and Eddie George had gone out and gotten him to uproot from his alma mater to come to Nashville to work at Tennessee State, and less than a month later, he's off again to Iowa State. Apparently his family had not moved yet, so makes it a little easier, but still, that's tough.
Yep, and we unfortunately, I don't think we're probably even done before summertime. There will be some other big shakeups that happen. Everybody's kind of just it really is. And
there's
like
there's no off season for it. I mean, it's just all the time.
That's what. Yeah, Matt Brown for Sports Biz was on with us last week, and we talked with him, and he said, yeah, there is no off season. I mean, it is all business all the time in the world of college. Really athletics as a whole, but obviously, especially in terms of college football.
Certainly. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it'll be Terry McCormick, the Titan Insider, with the top of the hour Titans report. He'll be coming to us from Indianapolis, site of the NFL Combine. So come back with us to the Lee Company Studios after this.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Top 5 Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and we are joined now by that music can only mean one thing. It's Terry McCormick, the Titan Insider, with his top of the hour Titan update presented by Zen Sports. Terry, talk to us.
That's right. It is the Zen Sports Titans update, and it's brought to you, as always, by our friends at Zen Sports. And up here at the Combine, both Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon spoke with media today, both the national media and the local guys, and imparted some of the things that they're hoping to do to get this franchise rebuilt and going back in the right direction. And one of those things is that they now have their scouts and coaches working together. They had some sessions that were done before they got here to the Combine, kind of giving the scouts a preparatory talk and preparatory display, I guess, of what they are looking for from the coaching staff is in terms of players, because under Mike Vrabel, obviously the Titans, had one type of player, that fit his system. Now that Brian Callahan is in charge of coaching the team, they've gone a completely different direction. So sometimes some of these guys that maybe wouldn't have been a fit for what they wanted to do under Vrabel might now be a fit for what they want to do under Callahan. I think number one priority in that regard is this team has aspirations to get faster on the outside and have more playmakers at the skill position, rather than going 3 yards in a cloud of dust, which I think that's something that we all knew was going to happen eventually. But I think the interesting part of that is re-educating the scouts and getting them to go back and reevaluate the players that are available up here at the Combine, in the draft, and in free agency to see who fits and who doesn't now.
That's interesting, Terry, because I guess I just wouldn't have necessarily thought that the style of player would change that much from one regime to another. I mean, you would think that everybody wants to be fast, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you would kind of think that, but the Titans have proven not to be very fast in terms of what they have on the outside. I mean, when you're running the offense through Derrick Henry, and I know that a lot of people would laugh about this and go, well, but when you're running the offense through Derrick Henry, one of the priorities that the Titans had for their wide receivers was to block. Well, now those guys are going to be asked to catch footballs. What a novel concept.
Receivers that receive?
Yes.
Who
Say
knew?
it isn't so.
Right. Okay. All right. Now that kind of comes back to not just the combine, but that kind of comes back to your current roster as well, right? I mean, are there some guys currently here that because they don't necessarily fit that profile may not necessarily be here?
Well, that's a question that I've asked a time or two, both of Rand Carthon and of Brian Callahan. And I think that Brian Callahan gave a really good answer. This was before the combine, but at the last, session that we had with him, he said that it is his duty and the coaching staff's duty to find what the guys currently under contract can do and be able to maximize that, find out how they can use them. Here's where I think it's going to change a lot. In the old way of doing things, it always seemed like there were a half a dozen guys on the roster who didn't contribute much other than to run down and cover on special teams. And while that's a valuable skill to have, when injuries inevitably happen and you have to put in the wide receiver or the linebacker who's not used to doing wide receiver or linebacker things, those guys often get exposed. And I think now the philosophy is find more guys who have offense and defense skills and teach them how to run down and cover a punt.
It makes a lot of sense, Terry. Hey,
Really
since we've kind of been chatting about getting faster and potential talk of wide receivers and actually catching balls, a hot name that was floating from the moment the coaching change went down has been T. Higgins. We saw the Bengals put the franchise tag on him, but now kind of some gossip, and you're right there in Indy, but gossip coming out of the combine week is that the Bengals may be potentially open to moving T. Higgins. How serious are the Titans? Are they potentially a player to finally get this guy?
Well, I don't think you can completely dismiss it as just rumor or whatever, because, obviously Brian Callahan's familiarity with T. Higgins goes back to the 5 years that Callahan was in Cincinnati, and Higgins was there for a good part of that tenure and became one of Joe Burrow's favorite targets, probably ranked second behind only Jamar Chase. And I think that in a situation where the Bengals know that they're going to have to pay Jamar Chase a big sum of money probably next year. So the question becomes, can they afford to keep both of them? Now, the thing that's in their favor here, and with placing the franchise tag on T. Higgins, which will allow them to keep him, is the $30 million extra dollars that the cap went up. So if the Bengals want to keep T. Higgins, that certainly makes it easier for them to be able to do so. The thing is, what's it going to look like in the long run? Can they structure a T. Higgins deal if they can get one once he's, off the franchise tag? Can they work something out, long term? Or do they let him go after 1 year on the franchise tag? What happens? Or do they try to move him now? But it's going to be interesting. I don't think you can completely just dismiss this as, rampant rumor. I don't yet put a lot of stock into the fact that the Titans are going to be willing to, make a trade, because they don't have a lot of draft picks to give up, and they need draft capital worse than they need to trade for veterans, especially with $90 million of cap space. So I think the Titans could potentially look elsewhere in free agency and in the draft for help at receiver, but you never say never, especially when T. Higgins has such a history with Brian Callahan.
In addition to Callahan, you mentioned that Rand Carthon spoke to the media as well, which is one of the few times that's kind of went down. What else did you maybe take away from the GM and kind of what he gleaned, if anything, I suppose?
Well, I'll say this, the first few times we've dealt with Rand Carthon, it kind of felt like he was very guarded. He was not really saying a lot, not really letting a lot of information out there. And I get that. That's part of his job, is not to, spill the house secrets. But today, it felt like he was much more comfortable in dealing with the media and answering questions, having conversations, the back and forth that goes on between reporters and coaches and GMs and things like that. I felt like he felt a lot more comfortable in his own skin and in the job that, he had to do there in the moment. And I think part of that probably just stems from the fact that it's his show now. Amy Adams Strunk has put him in charge of this, and he's supposed to work in conjunction with Brian Callahan to get this thing fixed. And I think, he knows that he's the guy in charge. And so, things are going to go down a certain way. And I think he's, feeling much more comfortable in that role.
Terry, could some of that guardedness early on just be from the fact that this was his first time in that role?
I'd say there's probably something to that. And then I'll also say too that maybe some of it was operating in the shadow of Mike Vrabel, who was a very, prominent guy. We've already heard the report of, teams afraid to hire Vrabel because he was too intimidating. But Vrabel does cast a very large shadow, figuratively and literally. And I think that maybe Rand Carthon was just kind of biding his time, accepting the secondary roles, so to speak, behind Vrabel in terms of, being the face of the franchise. But I think he was much more comfortable and seemed like much more himself, because we've heard people say he's a, quote, relationship builder. And it certainly felt like that today more than any other time I've dealt with him.
I'm intrigued by you revisiting that Vrabel situation and his physical stature and the impact of. Do you actually think there's something to that in the National Football League?
You wouldn't think so, because most of the players a lot of them are going to be just as big and just intimidating as Vrabel. Now, who knows? I mean, maybe some of the owners and some of the GMs and people who came up through the side of the game that, that didn't play football past high school or junior high or what have you. Maybe some of them are a little bit intimidated by it, but I got a good laugh out of it. I mean, I know Vrabel's personality from dealing with him. I think deep down, I think he's a good man, but he certainly is one who is willing to voice his own opinion and inject his own feelings into conversations.
Don't you want that, though?
I think you do want some of that. You want it to a certain level, but I also think that, there's the old phrase, was it plays nice with others? I think sometimes you have to play nice with others. I think that's kind of what Amy Adams Strunk was wanting out of this organization in terms of her general manager and her head coach getting on the same page, because John Robinson kind of, was running things and Mike Vrabel was answering to him. Then Vrabel took the forefront once Robinson was fired. Even though he didn't have the title of having more power, he certainly was the face of the franchise. And now it's certainly Rand Carthon's show to work in collaboration with Brian Callahan to try and get this thing out of the ditch and get the Titans back into contention as soon as possible.
It's really pretty wild all the way around. But Terry, you're going to keep us informed from Indianapolis the rest of the week, right?
I will keep you informed.
I'm
actually heading back to town tonight now that the Titans are done. I'm actually heading back to town tonight, but I will continue to monitor the proceedings from up here over the next few days.
Yeah, Terry, I was going to ask if we could get a shrimp cocktail report while you're in Indy from St. Elmo's for us, please.
Little St. Elmo's?
Yeah, well, I haven't made it over there. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
May have to stop at Red Lobster and get a shrimp cocktail.
That's unfortunate. Well, Terry, tell us about Zen Sports.
All right.
Let's talk about Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that's bringing sports betting to a whole new level, literally with their new boosted same-game parlays. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to a $1,000 no danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $1,000. And now Zen Sports is offering 10 boosted same-game parlays for NBA and NHL every single day. That's 10 bets, each with a 10% boost, and you can bet on every single one of them. And there's even more good news. Zen Sports offers a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. If you qualify, you'll earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, you name it, even sportsbook bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only, so if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. So what are you waiting for? The daily same-game parlay boosts go quick, so get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. No danger of first wager. Limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. Boosted odds are derived from equivalent parlay bets offered in Tennessee. Must be 21 and older and in Tennessee to bet.
I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros. Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that EY's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No.
No. Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
Be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe it's not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We are here in the Lee Company studios, Wade on Timms Ford Lake. Myself in my humble abode here, and Associated Press Top 25 polls came out yesterday, as they do on Mondays, and there's a new number one on the men's side.
Mm-hmm.
We give you the Houston Cougars, fresh off of a 82-76 win at Baylor over the weekend. Ascending to the number one spot are the Big 12 Cougars, followed by Purdue, UConn after that loss last week to Creighton. Tennessee up a spot to 4, the first of 6 Southeastern Conference teams in this week's poll. So Tennessee just keeps hovering right around there in that 4 to 8 spot. It'll be interesting if they are still there next week after they play Auburn and Alabama this week. Auburn at home, Alabama down at Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. So big week for the Vols.
Yeah, this is a chance for Tennessee to really kind of flex its muscle and kind of just strong arm its way. We'll catch up with Jerry Palm like we've done the last couple of weeks. And he had told us, he said, Tennessee will have a chance to kind of play their way, maybe all the way up to a 1 seed if things kind of got a little screwy. And as college basketball goes, things inevitably will get a little screwy. And so Tennessee, they're sitting there real pretty heading into the final stretch here.
They're sitting there real pretty, but like you said, they got to take care of business themselves as well. And they are in a business taken care of portion of their schedule right now. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that plays out here over the next couple of weeks before the SEC tournament as well. Marquette at 5, Arizona slips a couple of spots to 6 following that loss to Washington State on Thursday night, right after we had Jerry Palm on Thursday, who warned us that could be the case. So, listen to Main Street Sports today. You might learn something. Kansas up a couple of spots to 7, followed by fellow Big 12 member Iowa State. So you got 3 Big 12 teams in the top 8. Big 12 flexing. North Carolina and Duke rounding out the top 10. Auburn, Tennessee's opponent tomorrow night at 11. Creighton at 12. Illinois, Alabama at 14. Baylor, Kentucky. St. Mary's, South Carolina coming in at 18. Washington State coming off that big win and a loss to Arizona State to follow. But the Cougars are at 19 right now. San Diego State, Dayton, and some newcomers to the poll. Utah State.
Yeah, a whole host of them.
Yeah, Utah State, Gonzaga, Florida coming in at 24, I'm sorry. I can't think it was that 77-64 win over Vanderbilt that vaulted them into the poll, but hey, who knows? And South Florida making its first ever top 25 appearance at 25. So, congrats to the Bulls. The Bulls. Again, 6 SEC teams in the top 25. I think the last time I looked at Jerry Palm's bracketology, I think it was yesterday, and he's projecting 7 SEC teams into the field of 68. So we're a basketball conference, Wade.
Yep, things heating up in the SEC, and that Tennessee-Auburn game obviously is going to be massive. And if you're Tennessee, we're talking about them getting, potentially right in line to move in, maybe if things fell according to plan, as a 1 seed. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're looking at Auburn, that's a chance for you to kind of slingshot your way back up the rankings and get into the top 10, number 1, but most importantly, kind of slide your way up the seeding line, because they're kind of hovering. Most kind of bracketology folks have them somewhere in the 4 seed safely kind of range. But I'm thinking, hey, you get a win over Tennessee, you go on a little bit of a run in the SEC tournament, and then suddenly Auburn, we could be talking about the team that makes a run all the way up to like a number 2 seed, perhaps, if things fell according that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what that says is there's a lot still to be determined, obviously, that the SEC tournament is going to see some, or create some movement maybe on maybe some of those seed lines as well. So that's it's going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on that as that develops here over the next couple of weeks. Again, playing out this last 2 weeks of the regular season and the SEC tournament.
And you mentioned Tennessee, obviously, the Murderers Row with Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, and Kentucky on the other side. This is the game that Auburn kind of has to load up for, because they close with Mississippi State, Missouri, and Georgia. So in the grand scheme of things, it feels like this game means more to Auburn, at least to me. It feels like it means more for them tomorrow, whereas Tennessee, even with the loss, they're still going to be in pretty good shape, assuming they can bounce back and grab a couple of wins out of their final 3.
Yeah, and, as we listened to Jerry Palm last Thursday, the opportunities, for quad 1 wins and that kind of thing, this may be Auburn's last shot for one of those, or for a impactful victory that can move them on a seed line. So they right now are a number 4 in the East, where UConn is a number 1. So, to try to improve that tomorrow night's game in Knoxville, like you said, it's probably bigger for Auburn than it is for UT. So, yeah, we'll bear watching. On the women's side, stop me if you've heard this, South Carolina's number 1.
Are you serious?
I know it's hard to believe that the only undefeated team in Division 1 is number 1 in the poll. But, yeah, the Gamecocks 27-0. They go to Fayetteville on Thursday night in their next to last game of the regular season before heading into the conference tournament next week. Ohio State at 2, no change there. Texas up a couple of spots. Stanford slips a spot to 4. Virginia Tech rounds out the top 5. You've got Iowa at 6, down a couple of spots. USC at 7. UCLA and LSU each up 4 spots to 8 and 9. UConn bounces into the top 10, up 5 spots as well. Oregon State, North Carolina State, Colorado, Indiana, and Kansas State are 11 through 15. Gonzaga is at 16, followed by Notre Dame, up 2 spots to 17. Utah, Syracuse, and Oklahoma round out the top 20. Baylor, Louisville, Creighton, UNLV coming into the poll at 24, and West Virginia finish out your top 25 on the women's side. There are only 7 others receiving votes, so this is pretty solidly your top 25, but Fairfield is 26, followed by Duke, Princeton, North Carolina, Florida State, Columbia out of the Ivy League, and Ole Miss round out your others receiving votes. So, again,
which isn't it interesting after the conversation we had earlier in our first hour of the show that Ole Miss is a team that could potentially be one of those squads that maybe gives South Carolina, maybe gives LSU a run and win the SEC. But as it sits right now, receiving 1 vote to get into the top 25. So, they would love to do a little more work to their resume.
Absolutely. South Carolina and LSU, the only 2 Southeastern Conference teams in the top 25, which kind of tells you that the SEC has kind of lost market share in those terms there. So, but those
Texas and Oklahoma next year notwithstanding, as we see them flexing in there.
They are flexing, yeah. So that will kind of change things a little bit, as we mentioned while we spoke with Maria Cornelius there. So yeah. There are your top 25s. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, we will continue in the Lee Company studios, and we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, talking all things MTSU. Stay with us after this break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Your favorite wine tasting experience is back. The Hendersonville Rotary Club's Wine and Roses Fundraising Gala. Everything you loved and more. Saturday, March the 2nd. Prepare your taste buds for elegant wines, smooth whiskeys, craft beers, and exceptional food. Browse through the silent auction, all to benefit over 25 local charities, schools, and scholarships. Wine and Roses, Saturday, March the 2nd at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church, Hendersonville. HendersonvilleRotary.org.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. The city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Top 5 Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are joined now by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. And Chip, quiet as it's kept, the Blue Raiders have kind of crept back into the thick of things in Conference USA men's basketball. Chip, you're muted.
Mute.
There
How's that?
That's much better.
So,
much
all right,
better.
yeah.
We wanted you imparting that knowledge where everybody could hear it. So, yes.
I appreciate it. I'm not sure how I muted it, but I obviously accomplished that feat. But you're right. First of all, I heard Wade pop off with one of those "just means more" comments, but but there's one very obvious omission from that top 25 in receiving votes on the women's side. And don't think that it has gone unnoticed in this community.
Were they not just receiving votes last week or 2 weeks ago, Chip?
Yeah, I guess they won themselves out of that. So all they did was, I guess, winning a couple games by 30, was somebody took their votes away. So
that was a complete head scratcher. When I was looking at the poll right before we went to break, I said, wait a second, wasn't MTSU on this list 2 weeks ago or a week ago?
And they've certainly not lost since then.
Yeah, I started questioning my own sanity at that point, Chip. So I'm glad you at least brought me back to life a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, they're undefeated in the conference. They're 23-4 right now, and again, another part of the head scratcher. I saw the net was out and saw that Tennessee was one spot ahead of them. And so, again, don't think that goes unnoticed in the women's basketball hallway. When it comes for needing if there's ever a need for a little nugget to inspire, that was, those are always there. So, but anyway, they've been playing terrific. They got an 18-point, very industrial type win in Bowling Green on Saturday against Western Kentucky, 59-41. And then, and both teams, men and women, don't play a midweek game this week. The ladies have 2 of their last 3 at home. The guys do not have an easy schedule at all. They play 2 of their last 3 on the road, and the 2 road games are against the 2 co-leaders in the conference, at Sam Houston this Saturday, and then the following Saturday at Louisiana Tech. And in the middle of that, next Tuesday, the night before the girls' state tournament starts, you've got the middle men at home against Liberty. So, but, the Blue Raiders have really, gotten things headed in the right direction. They're trending in the right direction. Won a big game against Western Kentucky. That's 4 out of 6 in the series and 17 out of the last 26 in the series against the Hilltoppers. So, it was just an incredible college game on Saturday night. Great atmosphere. Both schools have had great atmospheres at the games between Middle and Western this year. And thank goodness the conference scheduled both dates this year after school had started, so the students at both places could enjoy the games. And also the schools did a good job of separating the two games, the women's game and the men's game, to where fans could be like this past Saturday. The women's game was at 11 a.m. and the men's game was at 6:30, so you could easily get from Bowling Green and the women's game back to Murfreesboro for the men's game at 6:30.
Chip, a name that you have mentioned a lot in this segment came up big in Saturday night's game, Jared Coleman-Jones.
Yeah, he really did. He had a double-double again, and that's, I think, 6, either 5 or 6 in conference play. And he, and when Middle's offense started going through him and in an inside-out way, because he is not only, statistically speaking, guys, he's Middle's best three-point shooter. He doesn't have that many attempts. He's 16 out of 33, I think, but that's still 48%. And he had 3 threes the other night, and he was 3 out of 4. But his strength is really he has great vision, and his ability to find the open man is really outstanding. And his understudy, Chris Loof, the freshman from Texas, the Red Rocket, played 9 minutes the other night, and in the plus-minus stats was +9 in 9 minutes. He had 3 blocks, didn't score a point, but had like 4 rebounds, 3 blocks, and really, I think, played one of his best stretches of basketball. He came in. I think he played in 3 different segments of the game, but he made an impact every time he came in. And he and Justin Buford were guests on the coaches shows last night over at the Boulevard. So that was, I was really excited for him, and it's fun to watch kids, especially, he's a true freshman. He's a prep school freshman, but still to watch him grow up from the time they got here last July to where he is right now, and the sky's the limit for him, because he's such a smart player and really runs the floor well. So you got to be excited about what's coming from him.
Chip, I'm not real familiar with the tournament format, particularly with the new Conference USA configuration with 9 teams, but Middle literally sitting right in the middle of the standings. They are 6 and 7 in conference play, tied with Jacksonville State, 2 games behind Western Kentucky in 3rd place. Where obviously, if the tournament were going to start today, Middle and Jacksonville State would play in the 4-5 game on Thursday. Okay.
The Lady Raiders, they're locked into an 11 a.m. game on Wednesday. Everybody's trying to play and fight their way out to where they don't have to play on Tuesday. And that's the 8-9 game. There's an 8-9 game for men and an 8-9 game for women.
Okay.
And then, but after that, it mixes up. You've got the 1s and 2s are going to play on Wednesday, and then you'll have the mid bracket will play on Wednesday. And so you want to get out of that, because you'll play. And there's a good look at it right there. That's the men's draw, and that's the way it will set up. Now, one of the differences is there's an added day to the tournament, which is Tuesday, and that's because this year there's only one floor, and that is the main floor at Probst Arena. Back at Frisco, you had 2 floors for 2 days, and then it consolidated down to 1 floor. But this is the main floor. And it seems like every day we're getting news out of Huntsville of things that are going to be happening during the tournament. So the city of Huntsville and the Von Braun Civic Center are really stepping up. They're going to have free concerts on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights that you don't have to have a ticket. You just go. It's at the Mars Music Hall, which is part of the Von Braun Civic Center, which is, so is Probst Arena. It's just all part of that huge complex. So there's that. The Alumni Association has announced that they're having a 2:00 Wednesday function right after the women's game. So that will be there. It's on the website mtalumni.com, and there's no charge for that. There is a cash bar and all of that, but there's a lot of stuff starting to come out as that machine starts to gear up a little bit, and it looks like right now Middle is by far far and away. They've got a 4-game lead with 3 games to play, and on the women's side, but the men's side it appears is going to be an absolute brawl for 3 or 4 days with a lot of teams that are very similar. So it's going to be very entertaining, I think.
You don't need no ticket. Just get on board, right?
That's right. But you need a ticket to the game, but they'll have tickets. There are tickets available already for full tournament tickets, but you'll be able to buy session tickets at the door.
Okay. All right. So 4, 5, 3, 6 will play on Wednesday. Is that the way that's going to shape up? Or?
On Thursday, I think.
Thursday. Okay. All right. Never a dull moment with the Conference USA tournament. But the top 2 seeds, there's no extra buys for them other than not playing because you're basically an 8-team tournament.
Correct. You play an 8-9 game. The winner of that gets to play the number 1 seed.
Okay.
And that's just basically you have quarterfinal. You'll have quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship days.
Got you. Okay. All right. But for those who wanted to leave the MTSU men for dead, and we'll talk to Joe Sullivan a little bit more about that tomorrow. But they've still got a chance to make some noise. Then is that fair to say?
I would like to say I did not come on this show just to say Jacksonville State won last week, but I will say Jacksonville State won last week. That's all I'm going to say. Y'all have a great day.
Go away, Chris.
We were having such a good time.
I did get to see our friend Greg Seitz, the AD at Jacksonville State. He and I had a nice conversation, and looking forward to seeing him down in Huntsville. Now, I'm not looking forward to seeing Chris down there. I'll go on the record with that. So
I understand. We're not always looking forward to seeing Chris here either, but it is what it is. We all have our own burdens to bear. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us as he does almost every Tuesday from parts unknown. Johnny Red Floyd?
Reese Smith Field.
Again. Well, I didn't know why. I couldn't figure out why you would be in the football stadium, but it kind of looked like it. But I can't really see what's behind you for the light.
It's baseball and playing Lipscomb right now. It's 1-0 in the top of the 3rd.
1-0.
Middle, and Derek Mason threw out the first pitch today. And
how was it?
And it was a low ball, but it was over the plate. It was and the catcher boxed it up nicely. Did not hit a photographer, none of that kind of stuff. So he did good there. By the way, they had a meet and greet with former players on Saturday, and from all indications, it was very well received. But that was before the basketball game, and then he and several members of his staff were over at the Boulevard last night for our basketball shows. So he's been out and about. He's been Mr. Everywhere recently, and they're getting ready for spring practice here in about 3 weeks.
Saw something on that. I want to get back to it in just a second. Did he go from the rubber or from the cut?
He went 1/2 step in front of the rubber.
Oh, okay.
So, I was checking that myself.
That's okay. That's important, man. I never go from the rubber. It's farther than you think it is, especially if you've not thrown in a while.
Yeah, you're right.
Spring practice coming up will be capped by a blue and white game, and I saw that there will actually be a blue and white game, and it's going to be pretty straight up, and there's going to be a draft.
There'll be a draft, and there's already from the former player meet and greet the other day. They had a lottery and selected 2 former players that will be the honorary coaches for the spring game. And Brent Bush was.
I'll tell you who the other one was.
Robert Frazier is the other one.
What? It was. I think it was out on the football Twitter account today.
Yeah,
so.
Robert Frazier is the other one.
Robert Frazier, that's right.
Yeah,
that's back in our day, right there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was pretty excited to see that actually. So looking forward to that. There hasn't. I mean, they've kind of done different things to conclude spring practice over the past few years, haven't they?
They have, and a lot of that, some of that was due to lack of personnel because they had a lot of postseason surgeries, and they were actually starting spring earlier. This is one of the later spring practices that I can remember, and it will not start till after spring break and will end in the middle of April. So they've got 15 practices to get in, and they're looking at doing that in a shorter amount of time than had been done in the past. So in about 3.5 weeks, they'll get those 15 practices in.
Okay, great. Chip, keep us posted on the Blue Raiders and Lipscomb as we continue there. And we are going to get you off of here and get us to a break because we need to get to Top 5 Tuesday.
There you go.
Top sports commercials. So we will talk to you next week. We appreciate it.
Is there one any better than Mean Joe Green throwing the jersey to the kid?
Quite possibly, but you might have stolen somebody's pick there too. So, yeah. Hey,
there you go.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
Thank you, guys. All right, bye-bye.
So again, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, it's Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 sports commercials. I don't know if Yao's going to pop back in or not. Maybe he's done. We will see after the break. Stay with us. I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros. Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that Eli's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No. No.
Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
Be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe it's not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Maurice Patton, Wade Neely, and apparently Chris Yao sliding in for the draft of our top 5 sports commercials. So, Wade, if it was just 2 of us, I would typically defer to you for the first pick. So as it is, I'm going to you, and then I'm going to pick, and then Yao is going to go
Last.
3 and 4.
All right. Well, since I get to go first, And there was a little bit of a tease a moment ago, but I think about iconic sports commercials. What about just straight up off the rip? Give me MJ and Larry Bird in an empty gym, just having a good old time. And iconic McDonald's commercial from back in the day.
Playing horse.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, anything you can do, I can do better type situation.
That's a good one. That's a good one, and it's also on my list. Okay. I'm going right off the rip. Get it out the way. Bo knows the Nike commercial.
Well, if I've got 3 and 4, I'm going to go number 1. Chicks dig the long ball. Had to take that one because I knew you were going to, Mo.
Damn you.
Yeah. Chicks dig the long ball is my number
We
1.
did this to ourselves, Mo.
Come in and causing chaos. Yes.
Well, I am Captain Chaos. So
yes.
There is that. And if I'm going to go number 4 here, we're going to go. It's really hard for me to do this and not take this one. But yo, yow.
That's perfect. Wade, number 2.
No.
All right. Nope. No.
Pretty sure it's you, Mo.
Yeah, it is me. You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna go with Larry Johnson's Grandmama Converse commercial.
That was probably not going to be my second round pick, but it was probably going to be my first pick in the third round. So you have stolen that one away, which is going to leave me. I don't know how Yao is all over the place with his selections, but I'm going to try and one up him and beat him to the punch. But in the realm of wild and wacky, what about Terry Tate, the Office linebacker?
Killing me.
Can I get some Terry Tate action for my second pick there?
Yeah, I knew that one was going to be on Mo's. That you wouldn't have taken that from me. You took that one from Mo.
Absolutely.
I thought it was just a little too straight laced and a little more in the zany realm that veered toward Yao. But I'm sorry if I had to do it. And then go ahead and throw me I can't necessarily even say this yet because he got injured only 4 plays in last year, so I don't even feel like he's a true Jet. But what about the old school Aaron Rodgers with the discount double check? A commercial that not only was a great commercial, but then also prompted one of the great celebrations we saw during the heyday of Aaron Rodgers. I got a discount double check for my first pick in the third round.
That's a good one. So is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm not a huge Michael Jordan fan, but Mars Blackman, the Nike commercials with Mars, it's got to be the shoes. That's my number 3.
Yeah, that's probably a good pick there. I'm going to go with and this is probably going to be contradictory to everything that we've said on this show, but Little Penny.
I
mean, Little Penny was fun.
Would you tell the little Penny from the science class said hello? Yep.
Oh, man.
That was on my list.
Yep. That was coming around.
How about since you said Jordan and Bird, how about when Magic and Bird played one-on-one with the same shoes? Magic comes all the way out to French Lick, and he's like, hey, look at these shoes. And Bird's like, already got them, bro.
Already got them.
Let's play some one-on-one.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. If I make this pick, I'm going to lose something else, but I don't think I'm going to be able to hold on to it either. So, as Chip alluded to at the close of his segment, the Mean Joe Green Coca-Cola commercial where he throws the kid the jersey at the end of it. Hey, kid, catch. That's my number 4.
It's pretty iconic.
May have been one of the first, quote, iconic commercials.
I mean, that's the one that everybody certainly thinks of, right? That's where sports and kind of crossed over into the realm of sports and pop culture, as it were.
Yeah.
It's on me, I believe. All right, boys, picture this. The year is like 1999, 2000. And really, you could flip this TV on and see it anytime, but it's on a Sunday. And in this particular Sunday, everybody in the world is watching the PGA Tour. And there's a man that usually wears red on Sundays, and you see this iconic commercial of none other than Tiger Woods at the height of his power, and he's juggling a golf ball with his wedge. And then at the end of the commercial, one final juggle, he pops it up and rips it off into the sunset. That's a classic commercial of my childhood. T. Woods from back in the day. If for nothing else, I just want to be transported back into an era when Tiger Woods was still at the height of his powers.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. That would be nice. And those were great days.
Final one for me. This is just a personal pick, but it spawned years and years ago, the Wade Neely morning show way back in the day. We had a segment at the end of the show called The Big Finish, and there was a song that we played at the end of this commercial, and it's the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but there was a Nike remix. And the Nike remix was from a commercial. It's called Leave Nothing. And it was also from a bygone era when LaDainian Tomlinson and Troy Polamalu are at the height of their powers. And it's really hard to describe. And a lot of folks are going to be like, what in the heck are you even talking about, Neely? But it's LT and Polamalu, and it's the Nike Leave Nothing commercial. It's really kind of a small movie more than anything. As you see LT running up the field, you see Polamalu diving over the line of scrimmage, and the classic beat in the background that was my show outro for 2+ years. I'm prone to homer picks.
There you go. My final pick is another Nike commercial. The Michael Vick Experience.
That was so funny. I wanted to take the Michael Vick Experience after seeing that commercial. I was like, let me at him.
Yeah, I want to do that. Where can I do that? Yeah, so that's my final pick. And now,
is that the one where he's throwing the Nerf ball out of the arena?
No, that's a different one. No, this is the one where it's like an amusement park ride.
Okay,
where they slip the shoulder harness over you and put you behind center, and yeah.
It's basically a roller coaster.
Yeah, individually.
This is not my pick, but the fact that we've gone through this entire thing and not said, I want to be like Mike, is a little insane because that might have been the greatest, and it could be the gold standard, to be honest. But I'm going to go with Brad Paisley and Peyton Manning, and Peyton's trying to write the song, and he's like, no, this is not how you do it. So give me Peyton Manning and Brad Paisley's nationwide commercial.
There you go. That's not bad. On my list, but unpicked, is the Under Armour classic, We Must Protect This House.
We Must Protect This House. That was a great one, man.
Yeah.
God, what a great commercial.
I had the Jordan brand with the Jeter. Respect was, it's a little more serious, and it was at a pretty emotional time if you're a Jeter or Yankees fan, I suppose. But that was kind of a cool commercial that kind of sent me in my feels a little bit back in the day.
Well, there is Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness, Dallas Steel, getting you in better shape than whatever shape you're in. You can find him at steelathletes.com. 2 locations, one in Columbia, one in Franklin, specifically Cool Springs. Mid-South 5 Fitness, getting you fit just in time for spring break. Get at him. Yao, we appreciate you dropping in on us. Yeah. Where are you, just out of curiosity?
I'm at the office. I'm
Oh, okay. That looks familiar.
It does. Familiar.
Okay. All right. Well, just in time. Yao is in the Lee Company studio for real. Wade and I are remote. Come back tomorrow at 2:00 and see who's here and where we are.
What for the fun of it?
Yeah, there we go. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, right? I'm Maurice Patton. Thanks for joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will see you at 2:00 tomorrow. We got Heather Williams, we got Joe Sullivan, and see what else we bring you. Talk to you then.